Hello, and welcome to My Week in Baseball. I'm your host, Phil Estruth Harrison. You're listening to Season 2, Episode 6. All episodes are now available in both video and podcast format at myweekinbaseball.com. And a couple of special acknowledgments. First, to Rose Petal Studios for the artwork and logos created especially for this show and website. You'll find Rose Petal Studios on Instagram at rosepetal_studios. And second, thanks to Brunjo Productions in Nashville for our intro music. Learn more at brunjo.com. Today, I'll share a few impressions from Oakland from a recent Angels-A's game I attended, discuss a base that was stolen in more ways than one, introduce you to a baseball first by Division II player Brady Ware, and look at a pitcher's duel in Coors Field, believe it or not. Of course, we'll also have a timely Blimerick and our cap of the day. So let's get right to it. Okay, the cap of the day, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see is an Oakland A's cap. I got this when I was down for opening day just a week or so ago. It is not the traditional bright yellow and Kelly green cap, the color scheme that the A's typically use, which is a little too gaudy for my taste. This one's a little more subtle. It's a slightly softer green, a slightly more like a evergreen, forest green, but it has the nice big scripted A for athletics on the top with the apostrophe S. And then it's a white A, and it has a nice gold outline around the edge of the A. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see this, but it's a nice cap, kind of a classic, and I like it. And it was my souvenir from the game. Okay, impressions from Oakland. Well, the Coliseum where the A's play was built in 1966, and I talk quite a bit more about the history of the stadium in Season 2, Episode 3, if you're interested in hearing more about that. But essentially, it was built as a multi-purpose stadium. It was intended to house the Oakland Raiders, who have since moved out of the city, and also a baseball team, which has ended up being the A's. Well, now it's just the A's left there. And so my impressions about it. Well, if you haven't ever been there, it sits in a sea of parking. It is separated from the urban downtown area of Oakland by a big industrial zone. So there's nothing around it. It's just asphalt. So it's not like other more urban parks that I've been to. Think T-Mobile Park in Seattle, Fenway Park in Boston, that have a lot of shops and restaurants and bars and food carts and things all around them. So in those kind of places, it's fun to go, hours before the game and wander around before you actually go into the ballpark. But there's really no reason to go early if you're going to a game in Oakland. At least there's nothing to explore in the surroundings because there are no surroundings. But that said, we did get there a little early. I went with my daughter, and there were a lot of folks there ahead of time in the parking lot, in their vehicles, their trucks, their SUVs with the back ends open, and having tailgate parties, which I think of more as traditional for, say, a football game. But there are even several people playing catch, kids and their parents playing catch in the parking lot. It was kind of fun. It was kind of a festive atmosphere as we walked through it. But there's really no easy way to get there. And we had a Uber Lyft driver drop us off, and you have to get dropped off far from the ballpark and walk all the way across what feels like miles of parking to get to the stadium. Anyway, once inside, I think the park is nice enough when you're seated and you're facing the field. There is a nice big modern scoreboard, and there are some nice venues inside the stadium. Like there's a treehouse bar in the upper left field, and several other places that are pretty nice when you're kind of in the stadium, especially when you're looking out to the field. but some of them are hard to get to. For example, the Treehouse Bar, we walked around and walked around, and we had to ask, I think, twice how to get up to it. Because when you're in the main concourse, there's really no easy way to get up to that upper left field area. You have to walk up into the stands. In our case, we turned to the left, which was the direction in which this Treehouse Bar was located, but we couldn't get there from there without stepping over seats. There was no actual aisle going that direction. You had to go around to the right. We had asked somebody to uncordon an area so that we could walk up an aisle in the stands to get to it. It was really awkward. So I would say that the logistics of getting around in the stadium are a little awkward, particularly if you want to leave the area you're in. We were seated off of the main concourse. If you stay on that main concourse, everything's together. But if you want to go up or down levels, it's not very intuitive. Also, I would say the interior spaces are, well, awful. It's just, there's only so much bare concrete that a person can take. It's very 1960s brutalist type architecture. And much of that interior part is very dated. And there are very few places, if you walk around, if you're on that concourse level, there are very few places that you can actually see out into the field very well. I've been to a number of other stadiums where you can be in the concourse, and T-Mobile Park's great at this, and you've got great views out to the field all the way around. So anyway, not too psyched about the interior, but the field of play and the seating was great. We stayed in section 113, which is just above the visitors' dugout between home and first base. Excellent views. I took binoculars and I did use them, but we really almost didn't need them. The seats were that good. And this section that we were in was a specialty section that had what I would call Barco lounger style seats. Now, they didn't actually recline, but they were padded and oversized, really comfortable, kind of like those fancy seats you'll get in some movie theaters or maybe in your home theater. We had our own TV screen, which was between our two seats in front of us, kind of down low between a little counter that you could set food and beverages on. So you could watch replays like right in front of you. You didn't necessarily have to look at the big scoreboard. And the aisles in there are like double wide. So if people need to walk by you, it's no big deal. They don't trip over you, just pull your feet back a little and they easily walk by. And we didn't know this ahead of time, but all the food and drinks are included when you're sitting in this section 113. So it was kind of fun. It's a little bit limited. You scan a QR code to bring up a menu, and you can order items off the menu, and they actually bring them to you, which is terrific. So you don't have to waste time standing in line to get your food. But that said, the menu was a little bit limited. So if there were certain things that you wanted, other than, you could get your traditional hot dogs and popcorn and Cracker Jacks and peanuts and a few other things. Actually, the fruit cup was surprisingly the most tasty thing there. You could get those kind of traditional things, and they included alcoholic beverages too, up to a certain number as part of that package. But if you wanted something different, if you wanted one of the poke bowls, or you wanted some specialty foods, there had other maybe burritos or other things that you might get out throughout the stadium, you would have to get up and go get those because they had just a more limited menu. But it was quite nice the way that was done. We did find, though, that it was best to order things before the game started, because once the game got going and the concession stands got busy, it took a long, long time to get your order. I think we ordered initially when we got there, we got things right away, like maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then we ordered a few more things in, I think, the fourth inning, and they came in the eighth inning. So you don't want to wait too long. And I think part of it was opening day. They're getting used to that. And they probably had more people than they typically would. It was about half full. which for Oakland, I think is a good turnout. So overall, I really liked it. I would recommend it. They are very expensive tickets. Certainly the most I've ever spent on single game tickets before. But when you only go, for me, maybe a game or two a year, uh, it's really fun, and it was worth it. I would say one impression I have. Someone asked me what I felt about some of the rule changes and what those seemed like live at the game. And for one of them, to me, was the pitch timer. Now they do have it up. You can see the pitch timer when you're there, which I've noticed on TV. They don't seem to be showing it. Um, I don't think it interfered with the game at all. I don't believe there were any violations. Maybe there was one. But the thing that, to me as a fan, I like it fine when I'm at home watching a game on TV, because then the pace of the game really matters to me, keeps my attention. But when I'm there at the game, I don't want a quick game. I would like the game to go on forever. Well, you know what I mean. I'm not in a hurry to leave. I've paid for my seats. I'm enjoying my food and my beverages. I'm enjoying watching the game. I'm enjoying getting the binoculars out and seeing, Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani and some of my favorite players. So I'm really in no hurry to leave. So, although I like the idea of speeding up the game for games I'm watching on television, I just as soon slow it down when I'm really there. I did feel that I usually keep score at the game, and we did get a scorecard, although they're hard to find. Another fan had picked up a couple of extra ones and gave me one. I like to keep score at the game, but I didn't do that this game because I felt that increased pace, it would just be a little too much of a distraction, and I wanted to really enjoy being there and watching the game. So those are my impressions from going down to Oakland, the Oakland Coliseum, and opening day with the Angels. That's the stadium itself. Now, the game, Shohei Ohtani pitched for the Angels. We had seen him before, but we had never seen him pitch. So we'd only seen him as a designated hitter. He's a pleasure to watch. He has a very fluid motion. He pitches from the stretch, and he has a basically unhittable pitch that he calls a sweeper. And if you watched the World Baseball Classic, the final game, Japan versus the USA, and that classic showdown of Ohtani against his MLB teammate, Mike Trout, that's the pitch that he struck out Trout on to end the game. So he's great to watch. He had a 1-zip lead after 6 innings, but then the bullpen came in, and it didn't take long for the A's to take a 2-1 lead, and that ended up being the final score for the game. The highlights for me really were the A's rookie center fielder, Esquire Ruiz. He looked terrific. He made a magnificent catch of a ball off the bat of Mike Trout that looked like it was a sure double, just laid out for it, and really impressive. I hope he continues to have a good season. And the A's Kyle Muller was outstanding as a pitcher. He pretty much matched Ohtani inning by inning. He didn't have as many strikeouts, but he did pitch 5 innings of 4-hit, 1-run ball. And he's just 25 years old. He has pitched in the majors the past 2 seasons, but he appears to have just barely qualify as a rookie. And I mean barely. Because once you exceed 50 total innings pitched in any previous seasons, you're no longer a rookie. Well, Muller had exactly 49 innings combined in 2021 and 2022. So he came into this season being 1 inning below the limit to still qualify as a rookie. Oh, and I will mention that at the game, I was wearing a Mike Trout jersey, which I happen to have on today, over a Shohei Ohtani t-shirt. And I was also wearing the new A's cap. So that's one mixed up fan, right? Or really, it's one true fan of baseball. Because regardless of who wins, I love going to the games. So next up, our Blimerick. And this one, a tribute to rookie pitchers. Here we go. What it takes to be a rookie, 50 innings or less, so you see. Kyle Muller of the A's still qualify A's with just 49 frames. Golly gee. Next up, a base that was stolen in more ways than one. In a recent game against the San Diego Padres on April 7 of this year, 2023, Ronald Acuna Jr. of the Atlanta Braves stole second. Now, this shouldn't be unexpected, what with the new rules this year, larger bases and limited pickoff throws, and the fact that Acuna is very fast. He averages 34 steals for every full season, every 162 games played. So you know this guy can steal a base. But what was unusual is that he didn't stop when he got to the base. The base actually came off in his hands. He slid into it. He had the sliding glove on to protect his hands, and it lifted up the bottom of the base. The base popped up, and he didn't know what to do. He didn't want to be called out. He didn't want to be tagged not being on the base, right? So he grabs onto the base. He's holding the base. He stands up holding the base. So I guess he's safe, right? But now what? So he fiddled around with it a little bit, thought, oh, this will be easy. And he tries to put the base in and he pulls it out. It doesn't go in. And he tries to put the base in again and he pulls it out. It doesn't go in. And the shortstop from the other team comes over and they both look at it and they kind of put up their hands. And eventually they have to have a groundskeeper come in to help reinstall second base. So I've never seen that happen before. I don't know if it was just something with the way that particular base was installed or if it has anything to do with the newer bases that are a little bit wider. I don't know why that would matter. But anyway, it was just kind of an amusing thing I've never seen happen before. Next up, something to honk about. Well, you know what hitting for the cycle means, right? And you know what a no-hitter is, of course. But have you ever heard of one player doing both in the same game? No, we're not talking about Shohei Ohtani, but he may be capable of that too. We're talking about Division II player Brady Ware, who is a graduate student at the University of Indianapolis. His team is known as the Greyhounds. And he set down the first 9 batters in a row while striking out 11 in a no-hit pitching performance. But he was also 4 for 4 as a hitter with the classic single, double, triple, and home run. And when asked what his secret was, he said he'd accidentally arrived at the ballpark about 15 minutes late. So now he plans to arrive late every game. Okay, last up, a pitcher's duel in Colorado's Coors Field? Can it be? Now, Denver is known for its mile-high altitude, and the effect that has on baseballs is to send them flying. Coors has always been a hitter's park, even an extreme one. But on April 6, Kyle Freeland of the Rockies and the Washington Nationals' Josiah Gray faced each other in what ended up being a 1-0 home opening victory for the sellout crowd of 48,000 people at Colorado. How many one-zip games have there been in the history of Coors Field? Well, this goes back to 1995 now. That's 28 years or 29 seasons, depending on how you look at it. What do you think? Well, if you said an even dozen, you are correct. That's about 1 every 2.5 seasons. So pretty rare. And I guess that counts as today's trivia question as well. So let me know on Twitter if you got that right by reaching out to me at My Week in B-Ball. I don't have a prize for you or anything, but I am curious to know. So that's all for today, my friends.
Join us next time because honestly, what can be better than talking baseball? As always, I'm your host, Phil Estruth Harrison. We'll see you next time on My Week in Baseball.